Portions of this program will be brought to you in color by ABC.
Spanning the globe to bring you the constant variety of sport, the thrill of victory and the agony of defeat, the human drama of athletic competition. This is ABC's Wide World of Sports. Brought to you by Currier and Ives, magnificent new collection of grooming aids for men, beautiful gifts that recreate the era of manly elegance. By Allstate, for insurance policies to protect your car, your home, your life and health, business too, you're in good hands with Allstate. And by new Corn Silk, a unique cosmetic discovery, a face powder made from corn, new Corn Silk, from Schulten Cosmetics.
Back home again in Indiana, my home, and to thousands here today it means the Indianapolis 500, the greatest spectacle in racing. An estimated 300,000 await the moment. 550 acres filled with anticipation, as photographed from our Goodyear blimp. Today you'll see the 500 in color. You'll also see the National AAU Gymnastic Championships with Jim McKay. So join the largest single-day sports crowd in this country. Hello, I'm Chris Schenkel. We're moments away from the start of the race, which will probably be the fastest and most definitely the richest. It's a race of questions that have not been answered, but today they will be. Can Jimmy Clark, last year's winner, repeat? Can two-time winner A.J. Foyt work his way up to the front from the middle of the field? Can national champion Mario Andretti stay on the pole and in front? Can the old pros like Parnelli Jones and Roger Ward once again get back into victory lane? Can Invaders' Jackie Stewart, the Monaco winner, and former world champion Graham Hill make the transition from Grand Prix racing to the racing, very particular type of racing here at Indy? We're moments away from the spine-tingling start, and before that green flag, let's take a look at some of the drivers competing today. A sun-protected Jimmy Clark, the world champion with his STP gas treatment special Lotus Ford. National champion Mario Andretti, who shattered records in qualifying in this Dean Van Lines Ford on the pole. Parnelli Jones, the 1963 winner, today driving this Agajanian Rev 500 special in Offenhauser. Graham Hill, former world champion, his first try at this classic in a John Mecum-owned Ford. Dan Gurney, versatile driver and designer in one of his 5 All-American Eagle Fords. Earlier today, we talked to Roger Ward, Jackie Stewart, A.J. Foyt, and Lloyd Ruby about their strategy.
Well, there's only one strategy here. You go out there and go as fast as you can and hope it's fast enough.
Well, I never really have any strategy in any race. I think the question really is, if people were to answer it truthfully, would be they just want to try and go as quick as they can. This is certainly my way of working, and I just hope sometimes that it'll be enough to do the job. I think to try and work something out before a race is just practically impossible, and whenever I do this, I always lose a race or drive badly or something goes wrong, so I just prefer just to run it as it happens.
18th, that's pretty far back, but I feel that things will work out. I haven't really made the planned strategy how I'm going to run the race, but I'm going to have to run pretty hard at first to get up with the leader, so. Getting to be more like a trophy dash for 500 miles because there's about 8 or 10 guys that really charges. You know, and since they're charging that hard, all you can do is just charge and try to stay with them.
Okay, those are just a few of the great drivers competing here at Indianapolis, the 50th anniversary race. And tension mounts here in Indianapolis, Indiana. Before the start, let's take a look at this 2.5 mile oval. First, the diagram. They start in front of the pit area on the 50-foot wide home stretch. There's a definite groove on this track as we move into the first turn up high on the short straightaway, back down low going into the second turn and moving into the backstretch. Let me take you around Indy on film, just as it looks to the drivers of these sparkling machines. We move low into the first turn. On the straights, we're doing about 120 miles per hour. We go back up high. This straightaway is 660 feet long. Now diving down into the number 2 turn. And you'll get the effect in a moment of how wide open the backstretch looks, which would lead us all to have a lead foot on that accelerator. Here's the halfway point of the backstretch, moving into the number 3 turn, which has cost many a driver loss of control of the car. The number 4 turn, and once again into the home stretch and the finish. Back in our car, let's negotiate that number 3 turn. Spectators get a great view of these fast cars diving down low along the white line, and then the momentum, the drift, carries the car back outside along the wall, getting ready to come into that number 4 turn and heading for home. You know, someone once said, if you go fast enough and successfully make 800 left turns, you win the Indianapolis 500. A year of building, a month of preparation for the Indianapolis 500. A beehive of activity on the track as the cars are put out into position. Number 28 will be driven by Johnny Boyd in his 12th Indianapolis 500. There you see Andy Granatelli wishing good luck to Gurney and Foyt. Bobby Unser's car, a Huffaker Offenhauser. This is Gordon Johncock's car, a Gerhardt Ford. Number 3 will be driven by Jim McElreath, a Brabham Ford. George Snyder will start outside first row. He's from Fresno, California. Number 75 is the car of Al Miller. And now in a much more serene setting is our Goodyear blimp, giving you this aerial moments before the start of the most exhilarating moments in sports. And now, let's meet that Hoosier gentleman, the president of the Speedway, Tony Hulman. And with that traditional cry, this beautiful Indiana morning is shattered by one of the most exciting sounds in sports. A month of intense technical, emotional, and devoted preparation comes into sharp focus right now as those valuable 33 championship cars are ready to pull away on the parade lap. No other race in the world requires such preparation. Men and cars have been here for a month, and now the hopes and work and sometimes the total financial resources of many men are on the track. 33 cars, valued at about $3 million. The fastest field in the history of this oval, averaging 160 miles an hour. There they are on the track, 33 cars, 33 of the best drivers. Mario Andretti, Jim Clark, and George Snyder up front. Parnelli, Jones, Lloyd Ruby, and Gordon Johncock in the second row. Jim McElreath, Chuck Hulse, and Don Branson in the third. In the fourth row, Jerry Grant, Jackie Stewart, and Billy Foster. Fifth row, Roger Ward, Johnny Boyd, and Graham Hill. Gary Condon, Mel Kenyon, A.J. Foyt make up the sixth row. Seventh row, Dan Gurney, Joey Leonard, Roger McCluskey, Jim Hurtubise, Al Unser, Cale Yarborough, Carl Williams, Arnie Knepper, and Bud Tingelstad in the ninth. In the 10th, it's Bobby Unser, Eddie Johnson, and Al Miller. The 11th row, Bobby Grimm driving the only roadster in the race. Larry Dixon and Ronnie Duman flank him. As the cars now come into position, you see Andretti, you see Jimmy Clark, and George Snyder on the outside. The pace car today, a Comet Cyclone GT, is driven by the vice president of the Ford Motor Company, Benson Ford. Riding with him, astronaut Gus Grissom and Tony Hulman. They're coming around one of the final turns now. 33 cars in all. 11 rows of snarling, growling machines are about to hit their speed. They're looking for the green flag, and if the cars are in line, Benson Ford will take the pace car into the pits, and there he goes. Here come the cars. That's Andretti on the inside, Clark and the Miller, and Snyder on the outside, making their move to the lead. They gun it into the first turn. It looks like George Snyder may get the lead, but wait, look back near the first turn. A massive upheaval of cars, tires flying in every direction. Look at the bumping, the smoke. Has to be one of the worst accidents ever here at Indianapolis. Some of the cars do manage to get through, the first four rows in particular, and only a few from the rear. As the ambulance now comes to the rescue, let's hope that no one is injured. There you see the mangled wreck. Number 6, the car of Joe Leonard. photographers busy, and the very efficient track maintenance crew here at the Indianapolis Speedway is on the scene. Ronnie Duman on the rail is unhurt. We're glad to report that. The smoke is billowing now, up high, coming off the track. As the foam, the chemicals spread by the fireman now, is putting out the fire in a car. It looks like the car of Al Miller. I see A.J. Foyt's car is against the rail as the firemen work feverishly. Foyt has climbed the rail. In the white cap, Joe Cloutier, vice president of the Speedway, supervising the cleaning as now the cars that managed to avoid the accident. The front cars, led by Mario Andretti, are coming back near the starting position. People are stunned here at the Indianapolis Speedway. The pit crew's now coming out on the track to come out and steady the nerves of their drivers, and believe me, they need steadying. And the good, efficient job of the track crew here at Indianapolis is at work. Our first opportunity will give you a report as to how many people were injured. $1 million worth of cars at least mangled. Suspension flying all through the air. We saw a few axles. There's an unhurt driver, we're glad to report, while this damaged car won't race this year. Lime being spread to absorb the oil that has leaked from the crashed cars. There's Ronnie Duman's car, number 96. A driver unhurt, but a damaged car. Over 300,000, about 190,000 in full view of this accident. We'll be back to take another look at that first lap pileup and stop action after this message, as we're back at the Indianapolis Speedway following a spectacular pileup near the first turn on the first lap. Lots of talking, cars moving into position, talking things over. How did it happen? As we look at these skid marks, let's take a look at that first lap accident in stop action. We stopped the action at the exact spot where the 16-car pileup was triggered. Right in front of the waving green flag and the tall scoring tower. The front cars, as you see, get through, but the cars behind are out of control. Some hitting the inside wall, others bouncing and bumping into one another as the tires go up and come down. There you see one, and you see the height with which it flew. And on the inside, at the exit ramp just before the first turn, cars move into that area. 2 cars are on the wall, and there you see the car of A.J. Foyt, and A.J. himself going over the fence to safety. 16-car pileup. And we've just received word that miraculously none of the drivers was hurt. As the firefighting crews, the maintenance crews come to the rescue of the machines and men. We're happy to report that there were no serious injuries to spectators or drivers. 22 cars remain in the race. 17 are on the track, 5 are in the pits, but unfortunately, 11 have been declared out. A few moments ago, we got a reaction from Gurney and Foyt about the accident.
Collectively, I don't know really who is to blame. I don't think you'll be able to blame it on any one person, but they're all using very, very poor judgment. It's not very difficult to drive down a little straight piece of track here with a few cars around. There shouldn't be any trouble at all. We're supposed to be good drivers, and it's I don't think they have the judgment of a flea for all I'm concerned.
What happened today was no call for. It was just one of the guys that was too eager and just, I don't think, had enough experience, and it just caused a lot of cars to get tore up.
And of course, here it happened in the straightaway, and something like that should not happen in this particular area of the racetrack.
It was really ridiculous what happened. Just glad nobody got hurt real bad, and that's about all. I guess another year we'll have to wait. Right now I'm pulling for my team car that George Snyder drives, so maybe we can still bring in a victory. And you can now do a little coaching here on the sideline, can't you? Yes, I'm going to stand by in case for relief, though, just in case he would need me or something.
They're preparing for the restart. There'll be quite a delay. So right now, let's go to Bartlesville, Oklahoma, the National AAU Gymnastic Championships. Thank you very much, Jim. The restart here at Indianapolis will take place any moment. Right now, another look at the massive wreck on the first lap. Here it is. Look at that chain reaction. Objects flying everywhere. Cars being totaled. 11 in all. Fortunately, no one was seriously injured. More orderly is this single file restart. 17 cars in their original positions. Andretti is up front, then Clark, Snyder in third, then Jones, Ward, Johnny Boyd, Ruby, McElreath, Hulse, Grant, Stewart, McCluskey, Hurtubise, Al Unser, and Bobby Unser. And last is Eddie Johnson. As Andretti shows you the way, 5 cars are in the pits waiting for the green flag so minor repairs can be started. John Cock is in there, Leonard, Williams, Tengelstad, and Kenyon. United States Auto Club rules state that repairs cannot be started until the green flag is dropped. Drivers on the track were told by the chief steward, Harlan Fengler, you start on the yellow for 1 or more laps to help clear the track, then a white flag, followed by a green. And now, these 17 drivers are looking for a green flag, and there it is. The start is on. For the first time today, these drivers get the feel of their cars at top speeds, sometimes reaching 200 miles per hour. Andretti is followed by Clark, Snyder, Jones, Ruby, McElreath, Hulse, Grantstern, and hold everything in the first turn. A car out of control. Johnny Boyd in car number 28 lost it in the first turn, and it appears that he is out for today. The 12th car to drop by the wayside, and this incidentally was Johnny Boyd's 12th Indianapolis 500. A tough break for the veteran from Fresno, California. The maintenance crew back at work. The caution light is on, and while Pat Vedin holds the yellow flag, we'll return to the Indianapolis 500 in a minute. Here in Indiana on a beautiful day, Andretti and the rest of the field maintain their positions. Clark is staying cautiously close to Andretti, followed by Snyder, Jones, then Ruby, McElreath, Hulse, Grant, and Jackie Stewart of Scotland. With the yellow light on, they're averaging about 108 miles per hour, when the entire field averaged 160 in qualifying. An aerial view showing Andretti, followed by Clark, and then George Snyder here at Indianapolis. Andretti coming up high, heading for the first turn. As Andretti leads the field in his Bronner Ford, let's hear what he had to say about the pole position.
This is the moment we've been waiting for. It's just wonderful. I think, as they say, the pole position is a coveted one here. And it has to be a good spot. You know, you have a nice clear view of the racetrack from there at the start.
In other words, I detect that probably you would want to remain in that position as long as you can.
But I'll try as hard as I know how to do it. Of course, it's immaterial who gets into the first turn and all that right at the start, but if I can help it, I'll try to lead every one of these laps.
The race moves into the 17th lap. Mario Andretti is on the lead. And now the fans look as Andretti has held his right hand up as the green flag is back on, and Andretti appears to be in trouble. In close pursuit of Andretti. And there is Clark passing Andretti. The result, the cause of the smoke which billows out of the twin exhausts of his V8 Ford, his rear-engine Ford, unknown at the moment. But it allowed Jimmy Clark, last year's winner, to take over the lead. But still, staying near the pace is Mario Andretti, who definitely has engine trouble. Belching smoke. Moving along at a rapid pace as the green light is on. And his engine, you could be sure, is not developing the 500 or 600 horsepower that it does at 8,800 RPMs. Jimmy Clark is the new leader with Mario Andretti, car number 1, in second. George Snyder is third. Ruby is moving up fast on Parnelli Jones at this moment. But Andretti continues to stay with the pace. And And that smoke trailing from his car is being also noticed by the USAC officials. They're watching him very closely. A possible black flag may be coming up. A black flag indicating that he must come into the pits for a consultation. The rest of the field is running smoothly, however. Andretti's car sending out that trail of smoke as Clark continues to lead. Lloyd Ruby in fourth position. Hold everything. A two-car collision. It's on the southeast turn, and it involves George Snyder, who spun, and he was then hit by Chuck Hulse. Another tough break. The drivers are getting out of their car, apparently okay, but both rear-engine cars are out of action. Two more casualties at Indianapolis, and here comes Mario Andretti into the pits. Black flag to that spot, flying in there. And now he looks to Clint Bronner and the crew for help, looking and hoping. Can that #1 car get back into the race? He may be out. Andretti, who was leading the race, overtaken on the backstretch by Jimmy Clark, last year's winner. Jerry Grant also comes into the pits for a check and also to be refueled. And watch these crews work. On the track, Jimmy Clark is pouring it on, and there's a battle going on between Parnelli Jones and Lloyd Ruby as Ruby wants to get into that second spot. And Ruby sneaks by Jones and has moved into second on the 35th lap of this 200-lap, 500-mile race at Indianapolis. Clark streaking by in his red STP Special. Andretti has come back on the track, but it appears now he has gone back in that he is definitely out of the race. Our Goodyear blimp, watching the speed of these cars, weighing about 1,400 pounds and reaching speeds of 200 miles an hour. Look at Jimmy Clark round that turn, moving into the 3,300-yard stretch. Jimmy Clark, 2 times world champion. We talked to him earlier about the fatigue factor in racing.
This race is longer than a Formula One Grand Prix. I would say for 200 miles, a Grand Prix is more physically exhausting. Here you've got quite a bit of exhaustion if you're not comfortable in your car because of terrific gravity loadings, G loadings. You've got quite a bit of side loading G, about 1.2, 1.3 somewhere, and also a pull down as well. And it's fighting this as well as trying to keep exact control of your car, especially in the last half of the corner. That takes a bit of physical effort.
And now another contender is finished. Roger Ward's car being pushed into the pits. A Mecum car, an 80th lap casualty. Roger Ward's 15th 500 ends abruptly. But on the track, Jimmy Clark keeps picking up lap money at $150 per. But there he is, spinning crazily in the North Chute. Jimmy Clark loops 3 times. But what a masterful job of getting that car under control. Driven by a great champion. Lloyd Ruby, who started in 5th position, now will move into the lead because Clark must come into the pits for a tire check. And there he moves toward the STP pit crew, headed by Colin Chapman. The Lotus Ford being checked now as Clark waves off the refreshment and wants only a clean pair of goggles. Meanwhile, out on the track at number 14, that is Lloyd Ruby, a champion at Daytona and at Sebring. Number 14, Lloyd Ruby of Wichita Falls, Texas, has the lead. He's followed by Jones, McElreath, but Jackie Stewart is beginning to move up as Jimmy Clark comes out of the pits. And notice how he stays low until he gets into high gear at top speed, avoiding the faster cars on the outside. Number Jimmy Clark in pursuit of Lloyd Ruby, who has taken over the lead as a result of the spin by Clark a little bit earlier. And now the fans look to the far side of the Indianapolis Speedway. They spot a car pulling onto the infield grass. We'll check closely now and see what car it is. Moving into view, it's number 98, the car of the 1963 Indianapolis winner, Parnelli Jones. And the J.C. Agajanian Offenhauser appears to be through for the day. Andretti is also through, the 1-lap and 4-lap record holder at 166 and 165, and we pushed near him for these comments. Ladies and gentlemen, Mario Andretti, fierce competitor, and the disappointment, Mario, is etched right over your very fine face, and we're sorry that you had to drop out of this great event.
Well, so am I. We had high hopes for this one, and right at the start, I think only completed 1 lap with the engine running in good running order, and then we dropped the valve, and well, that was that from there.
And
I actually ran behind Clark for several laps on 7 cylinders, and but I knew I would have to go in sooner or later. Then we started blowing oil, and then they brought me in. There was no use.
So now we just wait till next year, and of course between now and next year there'll be many other races that you'll be competing in.
Well, that's the one consolation we have. At least this is only one race, and what the heck.
That was the defending national champion. We'll be back with more of the highlights of the 500 after this message. Ruby continues to lead. There are 3 Europeans driving, and here are 2 of them, 2 Scotsmen in front. In the number 2 position is Jimmy Clark. Right behind him, number 43, Jackie Stewart, who wants to get that number 2 position behind Lloyd Ruby. What a battle going on between these 2 friends. Stewart racing for the first time at Indianapolis. Can he sneak through in this turn? That's Ruby that has the lead. He has lapped cars now here at the Indianapolis 500, and there goes Stewart, passing Jimmy Clark, moving into 2nd position. Clark is now running 3rd. So the 26-year-old rookie has moved to the number 2 position, 47 seconds behind Lloyd Ruby. And back a little bit farther, Graham Hill has moved up on the leaders. But here is number 43, Jackie Stewart, who has come into the pits. And watch that crew go to work. And number 14, Lloyd Ruby, has also come into the pits. Well, he's getting fuel. He's getting a little refreshment. Let's see if he'll get a change of tires here at Indianapolis. Clark, who was running 3rd, and as a result of the pit stops by Stewart and also Ruby, is now the commander in the top position once again, proving that racing is the most unpredictable sport there is. There goes Clark, number 19, in the lead. Ruby's pit stop was fast. He's out of the chase. Jimmy Clark of Scotland is still leading the Indianapolis 500. Jackie Stewart is mighty close. Running smoothest of all is Graham Hill. Lloyd Ruby is back in action and in pursuit of the leader. Gordon Johncock, Jim McElreath, Mel Kenyon are among the 9 in the race. Graham Hill, with his wry and dry humor, gave us this interview earlier today. Ladies and gentlemen, former world champion. And here at Indianapolis in 1966, preceding his name is the word rookie. I'm speaking of a very popular race driver from London, England, Mr. Graham Hill. Graham, welcome to the States.
Thank you very much.
Earlier, we were talking with Roger Ward and some of the people, and they were saying how incongruous this whole thing was. Here, former world champion, winner of many, many races, and here you're at Indianapolis, and the word rookie is on the sheet. How do you feel about it?
Terrible. That's, you know, I understand the reason for it. This is, in fact, my first race here, and in fact, I've never done any track racing, and I don't see why there should be any exception to the rules you have over here. We don't know the word rookie in England. I think we call them beginners, but the same thing applies. There is more to this track racing that meets the eye. I understand there's quite a few things I've got to learn yet. I personally don't feel yet prepared for the race, and I think it'll be quite an interesting experience for me.
Back on the track, Lloyd Ruby is beginning to battle for the lead with Jimmy Clark, who seems to be having control troubles at this point of the race. There goes Clark, number 19 in his Lotus Ford, and there's number 14, Lloyd Ruby of Wichita Falls, Texas. He closes the gap in a stiff wind, the wind especially effective going down the backstretch. Here they come into another turn. It's still Clark in front. Lloyd Ruby, when will he take him? Now they're in the home stretch, in the closing stages of this race. It looks like Ruby has nailed him. Lloyd Ruby takes over the lead, and Jimmy Clark is a close second. Jackie Stewart and Graham Hill have closed the gap. All eyes turn now in the direction of Lloyd Ruby's car, because they seem to spot some smoke pouring from the twin exhausts on that rear-engine Ford. Yes, and now we spot it too. There is smoke pouring out. Blue smoke, and Lloyd Ruby is in trouble. What a time for a misfortune. Well, we'll wait and see. I'm sure his pit crew saw him go by. In fact, there he pulls into the pits. Lloyd Ruby is making a pit stop at a crucial point of this race. The crew of car number 14 going to work and 2 United States Auto Club officials have given a preliminary signal of that's all. He is apparently out of the race because of oil leakage and cannot continue. This is a man that led the race for 68 laps. And you can see the feeling of one of his crew members, and we can't blame him. With Jimmy Clark in the lead, Stewart and Hill close in this exciting 500. We'll be back, but first let's go to Jim McKay.
Again, now we're going to continue with our report on the Indianapolis 500 automobile race. Again, here's Chris Schenkel.
Thank you very much, Jim McKay. Back at Indianapolis, we're in the closing laps of the race. Jackie Stewart has the lead now. Graham Hill is in second. Clark is running third in the race. And there goes car number 24. That is Hill, the second place car, but where is Jackie Stewart, the leader? We haven't seen him for the moment from our vantage point. There he is. Jackie Stewart's car has stalled. The ignition has been turned off, and Stewart is pushing the 1,400-pound beauty toward the pits. Stewart, who led for 40 laps, but his race is over. Car number 19 is Jimmy Clark. Coming around this big bend is car number 24, Graham Hill, who is really grooved. You see him hit the turns low and go up high on the outside. Ladies and gentlemen, leading the race with 10 laps to go. His first try here, a heartbreak for a wonderful guy from Scotland, Jackie Stewart. Jackie, you can still smile.
Oh, occasionally, yes.
What happened to your engine?
Well, it's bust fairly heavily. We started to lose oil pressure with about 10 laps more to go. At about the 80th lap, I started to lose oil pressure, and its engine started to get rough, and it bust.
You're a great driver, and you're our star of Wide World of Sports, having won at Monte Carlo, and you still won a lot of friends here today,
Well,
Jackie.
thank you very much indeed. Thank you,
Jackie. And there's the checkered flag, and it goes up for the first car to reach that point, Graham Hill. Jimmy Clark gets it next, then McElreath and John Cock. And incidentally, apparently confusion reigned at this point of the Indianapolis 500. The 150th year of the state of Indiana, because there's Jimmy Clark being told by the pit crew to go toward victory lane because they felt, by their calculations, that he was the winner and not Hill. But victory lane is filled by the official winner, Graham Hill. Seven cars remained at the finish. 4 went 500 miles. The winning car comes into victory lane. The car driven by Graham Hill and owned by John Meekum, averaging 144. Now let's talk to the winner of car number 24. Ladies and gentlemen, the John Meekum Racing Team, Houston, Texas, and more important is the fact from London, England, the man we talked to earlier when I asked him about being a so-called rookie driver here at Indianapolis. One word, terrible. Congratulations, Graham. You don't feel that way now.
No, I don't. In fact, I've sort of broken the rookie name now, but naturally I'm very pleased. I think I had a very uneventful run. I had a little bit of oversteer, and it was a little bit weavy on the braking, which stopped me from overtaking people when I wanted to. But apart from that, the car ran beautifully, and I was very pleased with it. It seemed to get fairly slippery out there at times, and I was having to watch it fairly closely. But the car gave me no trouble whatsoever. It was a beautiful run.
Which, of course, is tribute to the entire team, and in particular to John Meekum.
Well, thank you, Chris. Well, you know, for a rookie or for a beginner, you did a pretty good job out there.
This was your first year at Indy also.
Yes, sir, it was. My first, and Grant's first, and, of course, Jackie's first. And he led it up until, I think, the 109th lap and went out, and Grant was right behind him in second place. So the whole team did an incredible job. We were quite proud of it.
Graham, I guess now Le Mans, which we televise live by satellite back to the States, you've become a real regular on our television here in the country and wide world of sports.
Well, I hope so. Thanks very much.
You'll be driving at Le Mans for whom?
I'll be driving for Alan Mann Racing, who will be running Ford GT cars, for Ford, in fact.
All right, well, maybe since you won everything here in the States, for you and for John, maybe you can win for the States at Le Mans.
Well, it would be my pleasure. I don't care who I win for, as long as I win.
Congratulations again, Graham and John.
Thank you,
I'm awfully
Chris.
proud of you, too. You're a great credit to sports, both of you.
Thank you, sir.
Graham Hill, who led for 10 laps. The winner, Clark second, McElreath third, John Cockus steady fourth. We'll be back to find out what's coming up on ABC's Wide World of Sports.
More races, including the Indianapolis 500, are won on Firestone tires than any other make. These cars are driven at speeds far faster than you will ever drive. But it's not what Firestone gets out of racing that counts, it's what you get. Speedway develops super tough rubber for long mileage, nylon cord for safety, wraparound tread for road-hugging power. Now all these features are yours in one exceptional tire, the Golden Ring Firestone 500. Exceptional because many race tire features are built into it for your safety. Remember, more races, including the Indianapolis 500, are won on Firestone tires than any other make. But it's not what Firestone gets out of racing that counts, it's what you get. Put Firestone 500 tires on your car now, wherever you see the Firestone sign. Check your yellow pages for nearest address.
Next week, variety will be much in evidence on ABC's Wide World of Sports. First, you'll see one of the year's top drag racing events, the Spring National Championships. We'll travel for the first time to Tennessee and to the Bristol International Speedway for exciting drag racing competition. 2 weeks from today on ABC, the United States Open Golf Championship from San Francisco in color. We'll preview our United States Open telecast next week as we trace this tournament's illustrious history through former champions Bobby Jones, Ben Hogan, Arnold Palmer, Jack Nicklaus, and defending champion Gary Player. We'll also bring you a preview of the 1966 Le Mans, France 24-hour Grand Prix of Endurance, which will be televised live from Le Mans 2 weeks from today on ABC's Wide World of Sports. The executive producer of ABC's Wide World of Sports is SROONE ARLEDGE. Indianapolis 500 produced by CHET FORTE. Gymnastics coverage produced by Dick Kirshner, directed by Mike Freedman. Indianapolis 500 film footage furnished by the Goodyear Tire and Rubber Company. Remember next week, the Spring National Drag Racing Championships, previews of the Le Mans 24-hour Grand Prix of Endurance, and the United States Open Golf Championship, along with a report on the American and National Football League's dispute over player contracts. And now this is Chris Schenkel for Jim McKay and Muriel Grossfeld saying so long from Indianapolis.